Hi, this screencast provides some additional information about using BCE above and beyond that provided in this web page here at bce.berkeley.edu/use.html. Okay, first let's go ahead and start up VirtualBox and start the VM running. So we're going to have to start up VirtualBox under Applications. We'll then go ahead and power on our virtual machine by clicking on the virtual machine here in the tab and then clicking Start. This should start up in a few seconds. I'm going to go ahead and maximize this window so that the virtual machine window basically takes up the entire desktop on my host machine here. Okay, so up here on the upper left we see a few icons for software that you might want to use, including a Chrome browser, a Firefox browser, and a simple text editor called gedit. You'll also see that an icon for getting a terminal window, which we'll see in a few minutes. But let's start with some commonly used programming tools, in particular IPython and RStudio. You can start any of these directly from the Applications tab under Programming. For example, if we wanted to start the IPython notebook, we would just go ahead and click on that. That will go ahead and start up a web browser in which the IPython notebook is running. If we wanted a new notebook, we could click here on New Notebook. And we can now start typing commands in Python. For example, maybe I want to generate some random numbers and calculate their mean, so I might import the NumPy module and call it np. And then maybe I want to generate a number of random numbers, so I'm going to generate those using random.norm from a standard normal which has mean 0, standard deviation 1, and 100 values. And then if I want to calculate their mean, I can use the mean method on the resulting NumPy array. If I want to evaluate this, here's what I see, and we see actually that I've gotten this wrong. I actually got the name of the method wrong. I believe actually it's normal, so let's go ahead and try running that again. And now we see that the mean of this particular sample of 100 random normals is 0.084. Okay, we could go ahead and save this notebook. I might want to rename it something more informative and untitled, so maybe I'll call it RNG for random number generation, and hit OK. And then if I went back to this home window, I'll see that IPython notebook listed down here. Okay, if I want to close the IPython notebook, I can just close the browser, and then I can go ahead and hit Control-C in my window here and say yes, that I want to shut down the notebook server. Okay, so that was IPython. You might also be interested in using RStudio. You can also start up RStudio directly from the Applications tab here. We'll see that it starts up a multi-panel interface to R. If I wanted to go ahead and say make a plot, I could start typing directly in the console window, and for example, I could do a scatter plot of 10 random normals against another 10 random normals. And that plot will show up in the plotting window. If I want to go ahead and use a script file, I can go ahead and create a new RScript file, and that will show up also as a separate panel. And from here I can go ahead and type in some R commands, and if I want to run them, I can use the run button here contained in this panel. Okay, to quit RStudio, I could either run the quit function directly in the console, or I can just go to File and quit RStudio. Okay, another way that you can run programs and run commands and operate this Linux virtual machine is via the terminal, also known as the shell. So if we want to start up a terminal or command line prompt window, we can click on the terminal emulator button here, and that will start up a command line interface. One of the great things about Linux, and also about using the terminal on a Macintosh, is that you can automate the work that you do. So instead of having to point and click, you can actually operate the machine completely via text, and the nice implication of that is that you can save the commands that you've run and reproduce them later, and that you can automate a lot of processes. I won't go into more details here, but I just wanted to make you aware of that. So a couple of things we can do from the command line here is we could actually start up a command line session of IPython by just typing IPython at the interface here, and at this point we could do the same sorts of things as we did in the IPython notebook example that I just showed you. Okay, I'm just going to quit out here rather than taking more time to do that. We could also start up a command line R session by simply typing capital R, and we'll get a bare bones interface to R, which just shows the R console here, and we could, for example, enter R commands and see the results. Okay, again, I can quit by just running the Q command. We can also see what files we have in given directories using the terminal. So one option would have been to click on the file manager and see a graphical interface to the files and directories that are present in the OSCE home directory. But I can also see what my current directory is using the pwd command, and then if I type ls -l in this case, I'm going to see a long format listing of all of the directories and files that I have that are contained within this particular current working directory. So I can see that rng.ipython notebook file that I just created recently, and I can also see these various directories that are already pre-established for you. So for example, I could see if there are any files in the downloads directory by typing ls and then downloads. And I'd see in this case that there's nothing in there. If I type ls and R, I would see that there is actually a folder within the R folder. One more thing I'd like to show you is how to copy and paste short pieces of text between different applications on the VM and also between the VM and your host machine. So I've gone ahead and closed all of the windows that I had open a few seconds ago, and we're going to start from a fresh desktop here. Let's go ahead and open up a terminal window, and let's also go ahead and open up a text editor. So one way to see what keystrokes we need to do for copying and pasting are just to go to the appropriate tabs, and in the text editor we see that we're going to need Control and then either X, C, or V to do cutting, copying, and pasting. In the terminal window, what we can see is we need Shift, Control, and then either C or V to do copying and pasting. So let's just go ahead and make sure this works. I can type, say, cd:/desktop, supposing that I wanted to be able to change, in the terminal I wanted to change to the desktop directory. So if I have that in my text editor and I want to go ahead and copy it, I'm going to do Control C, and then I'm going to do Shift Control V in the terminal window to go ahead and paste that in. And then if I hit return, it'll go ahead and execute that operation in the terminal. Now if I wanted to go ahead and copy that, say, into a terminal window on my host Macintosh, I would, for example, go to a terminal window on the host, and here I can now use the Command key and V to paste. On a Windows machine, this would probably just simply be doing Control and then V to do the pasting. If I, for example, wanted to change this here to downloads, I can do that. And then if I wanted to copy and paste back to the VM, I can do Command C here and then switch back to the VM and go ahead and do Shift Control V here in the terminal window. Okay, so that concludes our brief introduction to using software and the terminal and cutting and pasting and copying in the BCE VM. I'm going to go ahead and close our various windows here, and then I'm going to go ahead and shut down the virtual machine.